Hello students, class 10th science. The chapter is life processes. Topic is transportation in human and plants. That how the food or nutrients transport in human and plants. And also one more topic we are going to discuss over here, that is human heart. Okay. So the next one is transportation. Transportation in human. Blood is a connective tissue in human. You are quite familiar with a red color fluid flowing just throughout your body, which is called blood. So, which is a connective tissue. Blood is also a type of tissue which comes under the category of connective tissues. It transports necessary substances to cells and transport metabolic waste product away from the same cells. So, it transport the necessary substances which are required by the cell to the cell and also transport metabolic waste of the cell from the cell. The main components of the blood. Now the next is main components of the blood. The very first is plasma. So it is a yellow color fluid. This is also a fluid which is yellow in color. It transport food, CO2, that is carbon dioxide, waste product, etc. This yellow color fluid, which is the component of the blood, is responsible for the transportation of the food, carbon dioxide and waste product, etc. The next one is red blood cells. So what are the red blood cells? These are also known as, in short, RBCs. Red blood cells, it contain hemoglobin which transport oxygen. So red blood cells contain a red color pigment which is known as hemoglobin and which is responsible for the transportation of oxygen throughout the body. The next one is platelets. This is also very much important term. Platelets, you have also listened about the platelets. These helps in the blood clotting. Actually, uh, whenever there would be the injury, to avoid the blood loss, platelets are responsible for the clotting of the blood at that site so that no blood loss would occur. The next one is white blood cells, that is known as WBCs. These protect us from the pathogens like viruses, bacteria, etc. So these cells, white blood cells, these cells fight against the harmful bacteria, viruses and germs and protect the human body. So now the main thing is we just have understood that blood is responsible for just transporting the nutrients and food whatever required by the each cell of the body, but who make the blood flow to the different parts of the body. That is the next topic. The heart is responsible for that. The heart pumps the blood through the blood vessels. So the next topic is heart. You just have to go through the diagram of heart there. Here we have a human heart. Okay, it consists of four chambers: right atrium, left atrium. These are the right and left atrium, which are responsible for receiving the blood, and the two lower chambers are known as right ventricle and left ventricles, which are responsible for just push the bloods. Okay, so now we will discuss it just after the introduction there. Now human heart. Okay, heart is a muscular organ. Heart is a muscular organ. It have two sides separated by muscular walls. It has two sides, right and left, and which is separated by a muscular wall. It has four chambers, that is left atrium, This is your left atrium. Right atrium. This is your right atrium. Left ventricle. This is your left ventricle. And right ventricles. This is your right ventricle. Okay. So now the next topic is how heart works. Here, deoxygenated blood comes from the body to the right atrium. Actually, first of all, deoxygenated blood, which doesn't have oxygen but it contains the carbon dioxide, enters to the right atrium through the vena cavas. So here we have vena cava which brought the blood, through which the blood enters from the lower part of the body to the atrium, which is deoxygenated, and upper vena cava. Vena cava, from this vena cava, the deoxygenated blood come from the upper part of the body and enters to the right atrium. Whenever the blood is entered to the right atrium, it is relaxed. Okay. Now, which when pumped to your lungs by the right ventricles through arteries. So after that, whenever this right atrium contract, the blood enters to the right ventricle by this way. Then it is through the wall. And whenever the blood entered to the right ventricle, it is relaxed. And when it contracts, the blood uh, just push out through the wall to the lungs. Okay, through the lungs, and get the oxygen from there and release the carbon dioxide in lungs. Now the blood become oxygenated, and through the pulmonary veins it enters in the, what my dear, it enters in the left atrium. So now when the blood is entered in the left atrium, it is oxygenated, that is full of oxygen. And when it contracts, the left atrium contracts, the oxygenated blood push towards the, or enters in the left ventricle through this way. And whenever this contracts, the blood pushed through the aorta to the different body parts. After that, the blood just moves out through the aorta and go in the different body parts. So here we have observed that the blood enters in the human heart two times. So this is known as double circulation. Okay, one oxygenated blood and another one is deoxygenated blood enters in the human heart. So the this circulation of the blood is called double circulation. So now the oxygenated blood comes to the left atrium through the veins, which when pumped to the body parts by the left ventricle through aorta. We can also understand this the different way. Just come over here. Some more explanation. Blood vessels, arteries and veins. Here we have the two blood vessels, that is arteries and veins. Arteries first. These carry the oxygenated blood from the heart to the body parts except pulmonary artery. Arteries carry the oxygenated blood, but there is an exception, that is pulmonary artery. Actually, pulmonary artery is responsible for carrying the deoxygenated blood. These are thick and elastic. Arteries are thick and elastic because oxygenated blood getting some pressure from the heart and flows. The smallest vessel, which are one cell thick, are called capillaries. Further, these arteries divided into a number of capillaries which trying to reach to each cell to provide the blood over there. Those are just equal to the single cell there, which are one cell thick. The next one is veins. Veins carries deoxygenated blood from the body parts to the heart, except there's also the exceptions. Mostly veins are responsible for carrying the deoxygenated blood from the body parts to the heart, except the pulmonary veins. Actually, pulmonary veins carry the oxygenated blood. These are thin and less elastic, as deoxygenated blood does not have any kind of force. So it is thin and less elastic. So you just have to try to understand this by this diagram. Just come back. Here we have observed the deoxygenated blood come from the human body and enters to the right atrium through the vena cava. This is your right atrium, RA. Enter to the right atrium to the vena cava. Then it enters to the right ventricle. Then it enters to the, this is your right ventricle. Then it enters to the lungs. Okay, and exchange the gases there. CO2 is released and oxygen is obtained. Then after that, through the pulmonary veins, it enters to the left atrium. Okay, then it enters to the right ventricle, left ventricle, and then from left ventricle through aorta it goes to the different body parts where the oxygen is consumed and CO2 is released. So this is the way, this is called the circulation. Here we have observed that circulation of blood takes place at the blood enters into the heart two times. One uh, oxygenated blood and another is deoxygenated blood. So this system is called double circulation system. So the next one is lymph. This is also important part of the blood there. This is also a transporter fluid. Lymph is also a transporter fluid. The pores present in the walls of the capillaries, some amount of plasma, protein and blood cells escape into the intracellular spaces. So actually this is also a fluid which is responsible for transporting the material, or we can say that the food and nutrients and the essential things required by the cells. So how could this obtained? Actually the capillaries consist of the fine pores through which some of the plasma, protein and blood cells escape and collected into the intercellular spaces which form the lymph. It is a colorless, it is colorless, not red like the blood. Lymph absorbs and transports fat from intestine. Lymph absorb the fats from the intestine and then transport it. Third, it drains away the excess tissues metabolism. It also drains or just make out excess of metabolism from the tissues. Now the next is transportation in plants. How the nutrients, or we can say that the food is transported in the plants. There are two transporter tissues in the plants. We are going to discuss them together. That is, there are two transporter tissues in the plants. The number one is xylem and the other one is phloem. So together we are going to study these, so that that would make the concept easily to understand. Xylem, it transport water and minerals. Xylem is responsible for transporting water and minerals in upward direction from the roots to the highest point of the plants. On the other side, it transport phloem, it transport the food from the leaves to the other parts of the plant. Got it? So phloem is responsible for transporting the food, that is, food is prepared in the leaves, to the different body parts, from the leaves to the other parts of the plant. And xylem is responsible for transporting water and mineral in the upward direction, as these are observing from the roots, in the upward direction from the roots to the highest point of the plant. Second, Xylem, it only transports upward. So it is unidirectional, it transports in upward direction only. Phloem, it can transport upward as well as downwards. It is able to, or it is capable to transport in upward as well as in downward direction. Third one, xylem, it works on the principle of transpiration. We are going to discuss the transpiration later. It works on the principle of transpiration, but phloem, transport of the food from the leaves to other parts of the plant is called translocation. That is, xylem follow the transpiration and phloem follow the translocation. Translocation means just to bring the or transport the food from one location to the another location of the plant. So the next is transpiration, the term which we discussed above, which we encounter above, that is transpiration. What is transpiration? It is the process of the loss of water as vapor from the aerial parts of the plants. So transpiration is the process through which the loss of water in the terms of vapors takes place or done from the aerial, that is the upper part of the plants. So this was the actually transportation in human and plants. Hope you understand that. Thank you.